All right, we are getting ready for our first race day. Doubles will be coming up. We're going to start with men, and then we'll head into women. But we're hanging out here at the finish dock. So here's a look at our scenery, our scenario right now. TV guys are getting ready. They're getting the leaders box ready. This is where they're going to do the awards later. I assume. I mean, this is where they usually do them, but it's not looking ready so far. So everybody is just, it's hard sometimes when it's early mornings. You can see, I love this, our sign guy, Rudy, he's scraping off the signs, making sure all the merchandise is just ready to go. So let's dive into Altenberg really quick. This track is really interesting for a lot of athletes. Some athletes love this track in Altenberg. Some athletes hate it. It has really tight and quick transitions. So what that means is curves will come so quick after one another. So if you have a mistake in one curve, then it can just cost you in the next curve. And specifically, I mean, luckily the finish is right next to one of the hardest transitions. There was a lot of crashes here this week. So this is the 11-12 transition. So when you watch this on TV, it's going to be right after Kreisel, so the big loop-de-loop turn, and then it's two small curves right after each other. There were some good gesturts, like they like to say here at the track. This week following that, we have some athletes that are not sliding in the race today because of this specific transition. And then from here, this is kind of when the rocket boosters really turn on for this track, sends you into the bottom part of the track where it's just so quick. So there's another transition I want you guys to be aware of. And if you don't know the curves, count them as they go down. So doubles, they're going to start going into, I believe it's curve 7, but don't quote me on that. The announcers will tell you better than I will. But there's a part at the bottom of the track that's really crucial for these athletes. And it's almost like this little hump in the ice. It's right after curve 14. And why that matters, I believe there's a camera right there actually, and it's zooming in. Why it matters is because those athletes become weightless. They're kind of hitting like zero gravity. So if they're offline, it'll just send them into curves. So it'll send them into the wall. So those are kind of the crucial points in the track. We'll see a lot of good action down there. But there's someone that's that knows a little bit more about it. Leon Felder from Team Italy. He did our POV video for us. He walked us through the track, telling us why it's so difficult and all the pieces apart it. So if you've never slid before or been on a sled, this is what Altenberg looks like for the athletes.
My name is Leon Felder, and I'll be taking you down on the Altenberg track today. Going into corner 1, the goal of the men is just to build speed here for the bottom of the track. And going into corner 3, here we can see coming down the lady start. And corner 4 is especially challenging for the men, not so much for the women, because you have to hit the first pressure corner perfectly, otherwise you're going to have problems at the exit. Here we can see the double start coming in, and that's then corner 7, corner 8, just quick turns. And here we can see famous corner 9. It's especially challenging for the doubles, and we will be seeing some doubles having troubles out of that on race day. Going into Kreisel, we can see 5.2 G-forces. That's just due to the high speed and to the quick turn. And here we will see a lot of people lose lots of time, but also lots of time will be made up here. And as you can see here, the red flag, that's the most important point. No matter what you did before, you want to be high there to make it out of the Kreisel. Otherwise, you're going to have some pressure to the right, and that's going to not set you up perfectly for these 3 corners. Going into 14, you want to be high at the end, and going middle out of 14 on the long straightaway. As you can see, you go uphills here, and if you steer at the most uphill part, like right here, your sled is going to start to skid, and that's going to be troubles for you. And this is the last corner, the long 16, and 17 is almost like one corner, and there you cross the finish line already. And that's it.
So obviously you can see the track can get a little wild, and I grabbed a coach. We just showed a POV camera of a sled going down the track to show kind of how intense this track can be. So China is up first. Where's the China. I just love China so much. I feel like I'm one of their biggest fans here at the track. So they're off first. Your boys are off first. How's this week been for them? Have they been here before?
We have a little bit problem, but in the training it's very slow. And now it's also yesterday much faster, and I think so also now it's much faster. Then these young athletes have more problems, you know, for this change fast, slow and fast, you know. And we see how is it, but I think so. It's not so easy for these guys, yeah.
Do they get scared? Because I got scared here sliding, so I can only imagine for an athlete when they're newer to the sport.
Yeah, it's this track. It's very tough, you know. It's Kreisel exit, and then also 11, 12, 13 is very hard to slide. And then we have also a problem. We not slide October, November, and then we start in Innsbruck and very late. And this is our problem now a little bit. We have not so much experience this year, and then yeah. We see.
Well, I think they're doing incredible. For fans watching, where are their crucial spots? Where are the hard spots for this team that they should look for?
The very hard is here. Kreisel exit is very hard. 11, 12, 13, and 14 exit. Yeah, this is the corner.
It's the whole track.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah. No, and then it's also for men's start. It's you know, it's Omega exit 5, also. Yeah.
Very good. Okay, well, I'll let you coach. We're lucky that he came talk to us because he's got to go get ready. But good luck to China. They're going to do so great. I sincerely, this is from my heart, I feel like they are great athletes and incredible drivers. Like for the lack of education compared to the other athletes, I just think they're blowing everyone out of the water. Like if we had to slide on only a few years, I would not be going off from double start in Altenberg.
Double. Here in doubles, before it's now it's a little bit easier, but enter 11 it's smaller a little bit. Before it's more place to go in later, also 13 enter. But now it's okay. It's for everybody the same, you know. It's hard for us a little bit more, but we have young athletes, and yeah, we have more grip a little bit with the other guys. So the slide is a little bit slower, but these guys not can slide with around.
But we're safe.
Yes, a little bit
that's
more safe. A little bit more safe is for us important.
Yeah, we need safe. Okay, I'll let you go. Okay. Good job. We're rooting for China. I'm convincing everyone to root for China at home.
Yes, okay.
Okay, amazing. Do you know any Chinese? Have you learned?
A little bit. Not very small, but it's very difficult.
She.
Yeah.
That's a good start.
Yes.
That's a good start. Okay, amazing. Thank you. Super cool. I just fangirl over China for exactly the same reason I talked about. They just don't have as many runs as these other athletes, so for them to be going off a double start for them is just, I mean, it's really cool. So you talked about really quick how they have more grip, but they're slower. So that's kind of the balance that you take on a sled is you can decide like, okay, because the less grip you have, the faster you're going to go. The more grip you have, the slower you're going to go because you're cutting deeper into the ice. So for some of these athletes that aren't as comfortable or haven't been sliding for very long, they want to make sure that they are in control of the sled, that they can actually put the sled where they want to. They're not racing to win any medals necessarily, but they're going to be more safe down the track, whereas maybe some of the faster athletes that are more comfortable with sliding and driving that have been doing this their whole life, they will have a little bit maybe more of a rounder edge. So it's a lot faster because it's less friction, but it's also you're kind of on the edge of who knows what happens. So there's some athletes that they call fly or die. So you're either breaking records and going so fast or you have a lot of issues. So there's a few athletes out there that you just never know. So and a lot of it just depends on the sled setup that they have. So he also talked about, I'm so glad we talked to him because he gave us a lot of good points. So the profiles of 11. So out of Kreisel, let's show you Kreisel really quick. Kreisel is right there, okay? The beautiful Sachsen Energy Ice Canal. It's this massive Kreisel, and it is a confusing curve, and this is why. So each track in Germany has a Kreisel, so Germans are really good at driving Kreisels, but it kind of slopes down. So I know you can't see with the camera, so I'm just going to describe it to you. So Kreisel comes in up the top, and then it ends up angling down, going underneath. So it feels weird in a sled trying to figure out, like, okay, when do I drive? what am I holding up, because the whole thing is sloping down, so it's hard to tell if you have a clean line or not. So it's just interesting. So out of Kreisel, they want to make sure they have enough height on the end of it to have a nice gentle cross to the sliders right into 11. So watch for this. Everyone who's following on our show right now, this is a crucial part. After Kreisel, they're going to come down and they want to have a diagonal cross into 11. Everybody is trying to go early into 11. If you go late, you will most likely flip over. Or you're going to have to drive really hard to save yourself, because it can just flop you right over. So little secrets of the trade. So everybody watch for that gentle cross into 11, because that's the line that's going to be the fastest. So we mentioned Kreisels. Kreisels are confusing. Here's a little bit of a breakdown on Kreisels and like how they work. So I talked about steering, driving down, driving up, but here's a little bit more in depth on Kreisels and why they are so important. Kreisels, they are wild. They're kind of crazy. Want to talk about them really quick because they're a massive part of the race. A ton of time can be lost here and won here. So pretty much a Kreisel means that it's almost, it's not always a 360-degree turn. Sometimes they're 270 degrees, but only a few tracks in the world have them. I don't know the exact degrees on this one, but it pretty much is one massive curve. So how you drive a Kreisel, thankfully they've put in these nice blue lines for spectators to look at to kind of see like the even line. So a good line in Kreisel is just a straight even line. A bad line in Kreisel is when they go up, they come down, they go back up. So the point is, like, let's imagine if we were going to send a bowling ball down the track, we would naturally see it wave through this curve. So the goal is to drive through the whole curve. So when someone comes into a Kreisel, they want to drive, and then they're holding up with their bottom foot, and then they're driving, and then they're holding up, and they're driving. So they're trying to just make it as even as possible. It's really hard to do if you aren't familiar with the track, and also if your entrance is off. So athletes that do it well will make up a lot of time. Athletes that don't do it well will lose a lot of time. And what makes it different here in Oberhof specifically is that the timing eye is right at the end of Kreisel. So it's a big part of it. So yeah, it's just kind of a big part of racing that, and it matters too if your home track has a Kreisel. Like if your home track doesn't have a Kreisel and then you come to Europe for your first time and you see a Kreisel, you're like, whoa, how do we drive this and how do we make it happen? But here's one more. See, Chinese athlete, you can see in their feet. So when you're watching this race, make sure you look at their feet. You can see when they're pushing down, holding up, pushing down, holding up. But that's how you drive a Kreisel. But if you drive it well, you're going to have to ask the local athletes on how to, be really fast, because otherwise you're just trying to steer your way through it. So anyways, that's what a Kreisel is. If you've never known, now you know. And they aren't just laying there. They're actually fighting pressure, trying to make it as even as possible. So keep your eyes peeled for Curve 14 for Kreisel this weekend in Oberhof. So obviously Altenberg, it's a little complicated. Some athletes know it really well. Some athletes, it's a new track for them, so they're figuring it out. But we are just a few minutes away from the world's feed. But I want to toss it to Tim in the booth. Tim's going to tell us all about the race and what's going on with it.
All right, thanks very much, Kate. I'm joined for the race number 1 of the weekend here in Altenberg by Team USA's Brittney Arndt. Brittney, welcome. First, let's get the bad news out of the way. Unfortunately, you're out of commission this weekend from racing. What happened?
Yeah, I'm not going to be racing. First training run, just had a little bit of a rough crash, hit my head, so I'm in concussion protocol right now. So just trying to not push it, take it easy. You only get one brain.
That's very well. That's a great quote. Maybe we should use that a little more. You only get one brain. And it seems with Emily last weekend, your teammate, Emily Sweeney, and yourself, that you're not hesitating. I mean, it's really easy as an athlete to say, well, I'll give it a try, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there's a time and a place to push yourself. And I mean, first year of the quad, our team we're not even going to all the races. And it's just like, at what point is it time to push yourself? And when is it time to kind of take it back and say, you know what, like, what's more important this week, the race or my body? And for like, you know, trying to stay in the sport as long as we can, sometimes you have to make the call.
I was going to say, not just this week, but in life, what's more important?
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And like, especially with your brain or your neck and your back, like, that's stuff that you're going to deal with for the rest of your life.
Very responsible decision from an athlete who's captured a World Cup medal so far this season. Let's talk about today's race. And Kate was talking a lot about the track. This, to me, seems like a track that really kicks it into a new gear on the lower half. Isn't that right? Yeah,
and talking about doubles, like, going from double start, it's still a little more chill at the top, and same with from women's start. It's kind of more flat, and then you come out of Kreisel, and that's when it picks up, and you're going quick, and the turns are quick, and there's fast transitions, and 11-12 is a really tricky area because you're basically straight, and 12 doesn't have much of a radius to it, so it does kick it up, and then you come out of 14 and you have the uphill into 15. So yeah, it's just like, it really comes at you quick.
And right in front of us is curve 15, which is maybe the steepest drop off on the entire track right here at the end. We do have the doubles coming up. We're just a couple of minutes away. I'll be with Brittney for the call of that. Later on today, Jonas Mueller joins me for women's singles. And of course, we have action all day tomorrow as well. So right now, turn over to our other World Feed YouTube channel for all of the live action.